We are here today to talk about supporting early stage entrepreneurs with Activate. So just a couple of ground rules. Today, joined with me, I am Kerrigan Turner, the Outreach Associate, and joined with me are Rick Kempensky, the Director of Fellowship Recruitment, as well as Joshua Weems, who is our recruitment intern for this cycle. They'll be helping me answer questions in the chat if you have any, as well as just support on the back end. If you have any questions or any concerns, you're more than welcome to reach out to them too. But also, we're here today to engage with you. So again, as I said, if you have any questions during the facilitation of the webinar while we're presenting, you're more than welcome to drop them in the chat below, and either Joshua or Rick will respond. Additionally, we will have a Q&A session at the end of the call where you can come off camera and ask your question live. If you haven't noticed, this meeting is being recorded for internal and external purposes. We do post these webinars to YouTube for resources for other people to use. If you do not feel comfortable being on camera, you're more than welcome to go on ahead and turn your camera off. Additionally, if you do not feel comfortable asking your question live, you do not have to come off camera, but we do ask you to come off mute, which you can do at the bottom of your screen. But also, if you don't want to answer your question, ask your question at all, that is perfectly fine because you can always ask us in the chat at any time. We also ask that you stay on mute while we are speaking, unless we ask you to come off mute. But with that, we will get started. The agenda today. So we're going to be talking a little bit more again about those entrepreneurial pathways for advancement. Then we're going to talk more about the Activate Fellowship because that is why we are here today, talking about the benefits, the application components, the timeline, the successes and results, and how your mentorship and support could help these early stage founders through the Activate application. Then we'll finish up with ways that you can engage more with us on a professional level, and then we'll close that out with Q&A. So let's get started. Programs like Activate, iCore, Breakthrough Energy, and the list truly goes on and is growing every year. These are comprehensive support systems for early stage founders to participate in a comprehensive support system that can enhance their network and community, the availability of follow-on funding, as well as initial funding for their projects, early market exposure, structured growth of the startup, as well as professional development. And as we see the growth of programs like this across the country, mentorship plays a crucial role. Knowing the opportunities available for your students, as well as others with the entrepreneurial mindset, is truly the first step. Providing that mentorship and support necessary to catapult these people to greater heights and their dreams is the benefit that lasts. While some mentors may provide guidance and support to assist them along the way, others may choose to technology and provide that extra support and become a co-founder as well. In all, providing the support to others in the beginning stages of their company growth allows them to grow professionally, but also individually. And all of these applications usually require some technical writing and also may include some translation of personal and leadership experiences to be told. With all of this, mentorship and guidance is always needed. With these groups, we also see others coming up and stemming up and being these support systems. So some programs that we like to mention are programs like the Westgate National Lab, the Charge Up sponsored by New Energy New York, Blueprint by the Engine at MIT in Massachusetts. And then finally, when you get down to like iCore, we do see them on a regional or a local side at universities, regional such as the Great Lakes Region iCore Hub, or even on a national sense. For more national programs, you have like Clean Tech Open, Nucleate, again, iCore as well, and then Breakthrough Energy. But let's talk more about the benefits and mentorship that we provide here at Activate. So our mission is to empower scientists to reinvent the world by bringing their research to market. We were founded in 2015. We really built this fellowship to meet the need for scientists who were too early for applied research, but too late for industry to really give them a fellowship and a pathway that satisfied that need. Our purpose is we exist to support our fellows who make things or to transform the physical infrastructure of our world for a purpose. For humanity to thrive in the face of global challenges, we need to reinvent our economy to be sustainable, equitable, and resilient. With our commitment to inclusion and accessibility, we do realize that all Activate Fellows share a common purpose, and that is to improve the world through science. But just as there are no single solutions to global crises, there's no single persona, path, or story behind who an Activate Fellow is. In fact, we believe that the more backgrounds and perspectives represented in our fellow community, particularly through individuals from historically marginalized or underrepresented communities, the richer the fellowship experience will be for all fellows. And again, we exist to create a better future for all. So we are building that inclusive fellowship community that prioritizes and celebrates diversity, accessibility, and psychological well-being, embracing an attitude of continual learning and growth, and finding and supporting these emerging leaders who are motivated to use their innovations to design better systems and so on and so forth. Well, let's talk more about the fellowship. So how it works, the Activate Fellowship is a 2-year fellowship, and over those 2 years, you'll receive $100,000 per year as a living stipend, which includes travel allowance, health insurance, and relocation stipends as well. The project will receive $100,000 in R&D funding, and the project or the company would also have access to at least $75,000 in additional flexible capital through our venture partner program. You also receive an expert community. So we have the Activate team as well as our managing directors, who I'll talk about a little bit more in the next slide. You also have an unparalleled network of scientists, engineers, technologists, and entrepreneurs there to help you and support you and also provide that guidance along the way. And finally, we have a vibrant fellow and alumni community. We have reached our 10th cohort. So our team, as well as that community for fellows, is only growing and becoming more inclusive and more engaging as time goes on. Finally, we provide world-class tools for scientists. So that includes not only entrepreneurial education, but also world-class research expertise. So we do have a curriculum tailored for the scientist turned founder, which I like to call a mini MBA for scientists, to truly give them that translation from their technical background that they've learned into more of a science-minded background, and gives them the curriculum and the tools that they need to support themselves in more of a business mindset. You also get the custom built mentorship to support your individual and professional development. And that could be through our managing directors and community teams who are on site and available to help you and assist you. And then finally, we do provide intensive workshops, virtual classes, and professional development opportunities through our programming. Finally, with the world-class research expertise, we do have relationships and some partnerships with premier research facilities that not only protect your company IP rights, but gives you that lab space that you do need. And then additionally, where we don't provide those relationships or partnerships, we do provide access to experts and equipment for technical development as well. So more about these people that you will work with closely. These are our 5 managing directors at each 5 of the Activate locations. These 5 people are all former science entrepreneurs themselves. So they've been in the shoes that you could be filling one day as a new CEO of a technical company. So they've been through that process and are able to provide that one-to-one mentorship because they have been in those shoes previously. Along with them, you do have a local fellowship team as well. So that's one fellowship manager who's just going to keep the process running and keep the ship running. And then you have a fellowship associate as well to support them. Alternatively, or additionally rather, you also have a partnership team. And this partnership team is growing our ecosystem and engaging with our ecosystem to provide more opportunities for you to have collisions and different conversations with our ecosystem to help support you on your journey over the fellowship. So Activate started in 2015 in Berkeley. And since then, we have grown to the Northeast and most recently the South with the addition of Activate Houston. These 4 Support in residence communities allow fellows to immerse themselves in founder-forward cities with strong ecosystems and resources to thrive. For those who might want to make an impact in their local communities, we introduced Activate Anywhere in 2021, allowing for a virtual experience from the comforts of your own home with quarterly in-person bonding with your community. And science can change everything. Fellows work across 16 verticals aligned with our broader mission to address climate change and other global challenges by reinventing our economy to be sustainable, resilient, and equitable. In each of these areas, Activate is assembling a coalition of funders, commercial partners, industry advisors, and technology experts to help guide you. Talk about a little bit about the outcomes. With our support, most Activate fellows achieve their first financing and product milestones during the fellowship. These early proof of market milestones just signal the shift to a maturing product-driven company. The 3 companies that we have listed today are Amaro, which they create delicious meaty bacon that is made from protein made out of seaweed, and have their product in different restaurants throughout the country. Gradient is building or has built a commercial grade heat pump technology that can be embedded into AC systems that make them more efficient than traditional window AC units. And then finally, we have Melinda here, who has developed a closed loop system for the recovery and reuse of carbon fiber composites. So touching 3 completely different industries, but all were able to come together and create their first product milestone while in the fellowship. For more of a case study, we have Elise and Kyle here, and they're part of AeroShield Materials that has developed a nanoporous form of glass that makes windows both energy efficient and affordable. Since their time in the fellowship, they've raised over $5 million in follow-on funding. They've expanded in the Boston area, now with about 10 employees. They were awarded the American Made Solar Prize by the DOE and are now working towards a demonstration manufacturing facility to further test their technology, and are working with commercial partners to install AeroShield window panes in the near future, I'll add. And here we have Atasha Cave. She was a part of the first cohort in 2015 and founded 12 along with 2 of her co-founders from Stanford. Now, 12 transforms carbon emissions into critical chemicals, materials, and fuels that today are made from fossil fuels. They received some early funding and promises of funding, but their investors really wanted to see the prototype before giving them additional funding and resources to really catapult their company. So they applied for the Activate Fellowship. Within the 2 years of the fellowship, they were able to build the prototype that they needed and have truly taken the innovation from graduate school and built a company out of that. Since 12 was in the fellowship, they have raised over $250 million in follow-on funding. They recently broke ground on a commercial jet fuel production facility in Washington that is expected to increase production later this year, and have been named to many different publications and resources, such as 13 tech innovators helping to save the planet, 10 climate tech companies that give us hope for 2024, as well as many others. So we found that the Activate Fellowship works in the last 10 years. Since 2015, Activate has assisted 249 Activate Fellows who have gone on to create 196 science-based companies and have created over 2,000 jobs right here in the US. They've also amassed over $2 billion in follow-on funding and nearly tripled every dollar spent on their support. So now let's talk about, now that we've talked about the results and what the fellowship is about, now let's get into the nitty-gritty of some things. So let's talk about the Activate application. So based on a team of 2, you're going to have first a personal vision. And this is going to be personal statements from each applicant summarizing the journey, their goals, and their leadership abilities. And we also ask for a blinded resume as well. Next, you'll be talking about the company vision. This includes a 3 to 4 page PDF summarizing the company vision. Well, you'll also have the ability to choose which in-residence or virtual community you would want to be a part of. And you would have to provide a justification for that of why you want to join that community. And then lastly, for the company, we'll just have to list some of the status and available resources that you have been working with to forward the company so far. And lastly, we have the technical vision. So this also includes a 3 to 4 slide PDF deck summarizing the technical vision and the details of the technology. And these details can be on the advantages as well as the skepticisms of the tech, the market viability, the milestones and risks, as well as the social impact of the technology. And optionally, you do have a chance or a portion of the application where you can provide additional supporting documentation, such as any publications that will just help and enhance and support either your company vision or your technical vision, as well as letters of recommendation. But again, both of those are optional. So when do applications open? Well, applications are opening for this year on September the 4th, and they're going to close on October the 15th. So you have plenty of time to go on ahead and start preparing or finding these early stage founders and entrepreneurs who might want to apply for the Activate Fellowship. Once applications close, we immediately go into our selection process, which includes an internal and external review where applications are screened for eligibility. They undergo a blinded review by our internal team and are reviewed by external subject matter experts. Once we leave that stage, we go into video interviews in which the applicant then meets with their community team for an interview. Then we go into finalist week, which is our favorite part of the year, where our selected applicants then have to participate in a virtual pitch to our Activate community, in which they talk about their technology as well as their goals personally and for the company if they were awarded the fellowship. From there, we select our fellows in April for the fellowship to begin in June with the kickoff of our team and fellow retreat. So who are we looking for? For the fellow archetype, we are looking for committed and driven scientists and engineers who are completely knowledgeable in their field, who are deeply knowledgeable in their field, motivated to grow into entrepreneurs, excited to participate in the fellowship community, and have the ability to lead the development of a credible technology that is feasible, has potential for impact, and is aligned with Activate's mission of science for good. And lastly, we like to note, would receiving the fellowship support make a difference? Additionally, on what we're looking for, we do have some eligibility requirements. So to be eligible to apply for the fellowship, one must have a bachelor's degree and 4+ years of post-baccalaureate scientific research, engineering, or tech development experience. In most cases, this could be, if you do have a bachelor's degree, you could already be in industry to get that post-baccalaureate experience. Alternatively, for those who might be in types of master's programs, they would just need a couple of additional years to be eligible. And then finally, when you get into PhD candidates as well as postdoc researchers, those are the people who are typically eligible for the fellowship. For PhD candidates, once they hit that 4th to 5th year of their program, as well as postdoc researchers are typically have met the scientific research or otherwise experience, so they are eligible to apply. You must be leading the commercial development of a hardware-based technology innovation for the first time if awarded the fellowship, or otherwise not a repeat hard tech founder. You must be committed full-time to the proposed project or company if awarded the fellowship. And you must be legally able to work in the U.S. for the duration of the fellowship, but this can include those who would need work authorization. And then finally, you must be able to communicate proficiently in English. The project or company must be based in the physical or biological sciences or related engineering disciplines. It must still be in development and not yet ready for full product scales at the time of the application deadline. And lastly, you must not have raised more than $2 million in debt or equity funding from non-governmental sources at the time of the application deadline. So what does this $2 million in debt or equity funding look like from non-governmental sources? Things like angel investors or otherwise investments. Things that would not be included in this list are government grants, such as SBIRs or STTRs. So more than welcome to definitely go after that funding there. So after all of this, in a nutshell, how can you support others through the Activate application? First of all, you can nominate your ecosystem. That starts the journey for these people once they get the email to let them know that someone thinks that they would be a great fit for the Activate Fellowship. From there, they can go to sign up for updates, but otherwise they just receive that one email from us. So definitely you all reminding them or just encouraging them that you did nominate them for the fellowship is a first start and can let them know personally to get started on that process or to look it up for more information. You can provide support and feedback through the process, asking questions to, again, ensure that they're on the right track, as well as reviewing the application or utilizing us at any time, the recruitment team or others, for additional support that you may need. Enhancing their leadership abilities. So offering small opportunities for leadership that can help advance them will always be a benefit and will always help. And again, while you're offering those opportunities, also providing that support, guidance, and feedback. You can help determine their eligibility and success with the fellowship. We just talked about the eligibility requirements, which you will have access to either through this call or once we give our follow-up email. But you can provide guidance on the eligibility criteria or always reach out to us if you have additional questions. And again, you can support them through this process and just making sure that they understand or have a good idea of their eligibility and success with the fellowship. And then finally, you can engage with us further. Always getting a deeper relationship with Activate will give you more information to be able to utilize with your ecosystem. So what does that look like? It can look like technical reviewing, participating in finalist week, or even making yourself available for some fellow collisions if you feel like you could be a benefit there. You can also become more of a partner with us and engage with us on an even deeper level on the recruitment side. So you could always amplify the Activate Fellowship in various different ways through emails, social media posts, or again, through nominating and getting the word out through your ecosystem. You can also schedule an in-person or virtual presentation to engage with students, and I would be your contact there if you ever have any more questions on that. Again, you can nominate individuals and then you could become a technical reviewer. So a little bit more information about that. If you're an expert in any of our 16 verticals and could spend approximately 5 hours reviewing applications in November to really help us choose the next cohort, be that first kind of eye and looking at the technical viabilities of new technologies. We would love to have you join our team of external reviewers. With that, I will stop sharing my screen because that is the end of the presentation for now. And I want to open it up to you all. What questions do you have? Additionally, about the Activate Fellowship, about how you can engage with us, maybe about the audience of students or your ecosystem, if you have specific questions on how you can support them. We are open for at least the next 15 to 20 minutes with really any questions that you have. To jump in the live queue for questions, at the bottom of your screen, you'll see the reaction tab. It has a little heart, I believe, now on it. Once you click the reaction tab, you can then click the raise hand function, which will put you into the queue. Additionally, if you wanted to ask your question in the chat, you're still more than welcome to do that. But with that, we already have one hand raised. So Philip, what is your question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, when people apply as partners or two people apply together, what are the successful kind of roles that you've noticed that people take on, and how does that dynamic best work when actually going through the fellowship?
That is a great question. So there are a couple of different scenarios that we typically see with co-founder structures. You could have, well, in the case, the primary applicant always has to meet all of the eligibility requirements. So they're typically going to be some kind of technical lead, or they're they do have the technical ability to lead their project, but they want to get more of the business perspective and business knowledge. So they're stepping in as the CEO. And again, this is the primary applicant. For that co-applicant on the other end, because they are not being funded through the Activate Fellowship, we don't require all of the eligibilities to be met. So for instance, they could have outside employment, depending on what that looks like and how much time they can still commit to the project. They also do not have to have I would say, a technical degree. In some cases, we see that more business leads or the CEO might want to be the or is the co-applicant, but they are more of the business lead, whereas kind of both teams are taking on the business structure, but the CEO or primary applicant is more of the technical lead in that sense. We've also seen co-founders with the same, so they're both kind of technical leads there. We have also seen, there was one more that is leaving the top of my head. Rick, do you have any more to add on that while I think about the last one? I will come back if I remember it, but essentially I would say that for that primary applicant, it's going to be either more of they have the technical ability, but they have the choice to either kind of pick up the technical lead or do more of like a business lead. And for that co-applicant, it could be somewhat of the same, where they're either more of a technical lead, more of a business lead, or they're both kind of, or they have a balance in some cases there. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, and I'm just going to add real quickly, just because you asked, Kerrigan. I think that as long as both people feel that they have, usually at least the primary person feels that they have the technical ability to drive the technology forward, and both of them should have decision-making authority within the company. So whether it's being the CTO, the CEO, or the COO, I think those are pretty much the title we've typically seen. Yeah.
So kind of at the level of a co-founder.
Yes.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Rasha, you may go ahead with your question.
Hi. I'm sorry, I realize now it's really dark here in the UK. Do you have to have spun out before you apply to Activate? Or, sorry?
Do you mean incorporation?
You're in corporation. So we're spinning out from a UK university with the understanding that we are incorporating in the first instance in the US. Hence, the negotiation is taking time. We're already talking to patent attorneys in the US, etc. But I do not want to be rushed with the incorporation. Would that be a disadvantage? There's a deadline? Does it have to be in September? Does it have to be when you applied? How does it work?
Great question. So you do not have to be incorporated to apply for the program. However, if you were accepted into the program, you should have at least have some plan or timeline set for incorporation, because that could possibly hold up some of your funding that you receive or some of the award that you receive. So as long as you have a timeline, if you're accepted into the fellowship, but it's not necessary to apply.
Brilliant. So if we are planning to incorporate 2026 January, that is within, is it too late, you would say? It's just it's cheaper to keep working in the university for as long as you can until you spin out. If I would just want to know, like, we definitely would have spun out if we were successful, let's say, and we would have been, and we could also get reference from accelerators we work with Boston. But I just don't want to be, I want to know what is like the deadline. You think, oh, by this time, if you are in that shortlist by the interview, you should have spun out, just so that I get the work behind done, like the visa, for example. This is another thing, but I'll deal with that on my own. But I just want to know the timeline that incorporation should have done if you are a successful candidate, if that makes sense. You don't have to answer now if it's a bit complicated. I'm happy to follow up offline after that.
I have a general answer for you. And the general answer is if you were accepted into the fellowship or knew that you were getting the fellowship, let's say in April, you would start the fellowship in June. Our general structure is you should have kind of all of the requirements, which includes incorporation, maybe work authorization, etc., by September of that year. So you would have, what is that? I think 4 or 5 months to continue with a plan or some timeline, or just staying in communication with the community team, because that could also be situational, especially when you get into work authorizations, and we know that roadblocks and things could come up and pivots can happen. So I would say somewhat situational, but that's a very general kind of guideline.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. I do have some questions in the chat. Again, you're more than welcome to hop into the queue. I do have one question that has not been answered from Mohammed. He said, these engagement opportunities, are they available to non-Activate members? And I would say to you, if you are a supporter, but you're in more of a mentor kind of role, then these opportunities for engagement do apply to you. If you're more in an applicant role in this sense, and you're thinking about applying to the Activate Fellowship, but if you still have more of a mentor role, this could potentially apply to you as well. I would say kind of you can definitely nominate people. We could definitely connect with you, and you could amplify the Activate Fellowship further. I think where it would get a little sticky is with the technical reviewing, if you were trying to be an applicant as well as a technical reviewer. I would say let me know offline, or if you have any additional questions, you can email us at apply@activate.org if you need more clarity on that answer. I have another question. Is there any restriction on the percentage of equity for the 2 applicants? I do not believe there is any restriction on the percentage of equity split between the team. That would be a conversation that you all would decide on your own. I would say, if anything, you just might have to communicate it to us. Do we have any more questions? Or any follow-up questions from anyone in the chat? I don't want to end us too early, but so I want to make sure that you all have all the information that you need. Got some more. How do people usually go about finding lab space? Yeah, so this can look a little different depending on whether you're an in-residence community or whether you're in the Activate Anywhere virtual community. For in-residence communities, as I mentioned, we might have either relationships or partnerships with different facilities to where you can get the support and guidance to move into their space. For the Activate Anywhere community, it does look a little different because the Anywhere team is not available to you in your local community. What we usually ask in general of Activate fellows in finding lab space is that they try to step out on their own. So for instance, if you, as Rasha mentioned, she's been working at her university for as long as she can. That's well and fine to get where you need to go. But if there's a chance for you to move out with the support of the Activate Fellowship or with the funding that you receive, we would want you to choose that option to just get into a new space and gain different perspectives and gain new knowledge in maybe a different lab space. Additionally, if a lab space is not necessarily where you would be finishing this research, development, or de-risking of your technology, whatever that lab space or workspace might look like to you, we would always just support and help try to guide you with the support, and as well as the ecosystem that we have, if we have any connections that we can make to just, again, help support you through finding and securing that lab space. The next question is from Suman. For the nomination process, are you asking us to nominate others fit for the fellowship? So I'll go a little bit more into our nomination process, but short answer, yes. At any time, at any point throughout the year, even when applications are closed, you may nominate an individual as long as you have their first name, last name, and email. You can nominate them and basically let them know. It sends them an email that says, hey, someone thought that you would be a great fit for the Activate Fellowship. We send them a link, but that's all that Activate can send on our behalf to this person. So from there, they would have to sign up for updates from there. So there's no real benefit besides for the applicant or prospective applicant to know that someone was thinking that they would be a great fit for the fellowship. However, we do definitely look at the popularity for some amplifiers, as we call them, or some people within our ecosystem who do a wonderful job at nominating a lot of their ecosystem and really doing a great job of supporting young entrepreneurial minds if they are interested in furthering their company as the CEO. We see a lot of nominations come in from a certain amount of people. So we're definitely just trying to see how we can touch the ecosystem even more to get those nominations up, because they have been just some really, really amazing people who have been nominated, who have gone on to become Activate Fellows. Is there a process for past fellows to nominate us as we apply? We definitely encourage our fellows, current and alumni, to nominate people that they come across who they might think would be a great fit. So those usually come in as well. We usually have a good bit of fellows who are nominating people. I have another question from NG. If we use equipment, does that impose IP? Well, great. Rick just answered that, but I can also finish that and answer it for you. So does that impose IP ownership by Activate? And no, Activate does not claim any ownership rights over fellows' IP. Our goal is to actually support fellows in developing their own IP. And you can read the additional information there, but that is the short answer. So thanks, Rick. For the in-residence communities, are those lab spaces free? I would probably say in most cases, no. However, there are discounted prices as well as additional benefits that we usually have in creating a relationship or partnership with a lab facility. So I wouldn't go into it thinking it was free. However, you might see some kind of, again, discount on the space or an added or extra benefit with procuring that lab space. How do we know which Activate site is more suitable for a certain type of project? So thank you, Joshua, for dropping that community link. So that will provide more information on some of the unique benefits of the communities, but essentially it's up to you and your research and how you feel. So you would rank choice the communities on the application. However, it's truly where you see yourself being embedded into a system or an ecosystem for 2 years, where you think your community, not your community, your company can thrive with the ecosystem and the industries available in the area. And again, you can rank choice and provide justifications for why you think this community would be a great fit for you. On the other side, I would say that New York is a community that mostly takes carbon management technologies, although they do accept other technologies as well. They are just carbon management heavy with their partnership with NYSERDA. Also, Berkeley takes on more climate technologies, I would say, than other communities with their partnership with LBNL. All of the other communities are kind of open on the technologies that they accept, or they don't have kind of any one vertical or technology going their way besides those two that we currently have. Again, some restriction on, but they do still accept other technologies as well. And yes, we will. So that is a great plug. We will be having some upcoming webinars from our community to talk about their own ecosystems. Also, we will be having a fellow panel discussion in about a week. I believe it's on Wednesday, if I'm not forgetting. It's live now if you want to RSVP to it. It's called AMA Changing Lives, Changing Locations. We'll be talking with 4 C24 fellows to talk about, actually, that is not the one next Wednesday. That is the Why Entrepreneurship, Why Now webinar. I believe it's coming next month, though, so you all are getting the early look into it. But essentially, we'll be talking to 4 fellows to see, to talk to them and ask them questions about why they chose their community, maybe what their thought process was in not choosing another community, how they provided or communicated the justifications on their application. Different questions like that will really be talking to them. So that will also provide a lot of clarity on how they arrived at the decision to choose the community that they are a part of. All righty, I have another question from Rasha. I might need a little bit more context on this. She says, are streams, say, life sciences tied up to no location, say Boston, or is that irrelevant? Yeah, I'll definitely need some more.
So if when you apply for Activate, say you want to apply for Activate Boston and you're a life science instrumentation company, or say you're not really climate or whatever the company, is there a preference, would you say, or recommend that when when your company is in a certain stream to apply for a certain location, or is it irrelevant? It's solely dependent on the preference of the applicant?
I think they're just asking, you kind of addressed it earlier, Kerrigan. So for carbon management, for example, that's a pretty big imperative that we have for our New York office. So a lot of our companies are focused on carbon management in that community. The other communities are less restrictive currently. That might change depending on sponsors. But currently, like if you're in the life sciences vertical, you can apply to you could rank your ecosystem that you think is going to best benefit you as a company and what your technology is. So I would encourage you again to go to the community webinars, because they can talk a little bit more about what they're seeing in their ecosystems, about major industries.
Yeah, I have my eyes set on one. I just wanted to know if that, I know what to do, but I just wanted to make sure there isn't. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and life science is a little tricky. We don't have a ton of life sciences companies, but I would encourage you to look at our website. Hopo Therapeutics is one of our ones, and I think they're in Boston, right? Kerrigan, I'm pretty sure they're in Boston. But I think that there might, it doesn't mean that that other communities cannot, end up selecting someone in life sciences.
Can I ask, sorry, something tied up to that thing with space? When you were saying, space and ecosystem and stuff, let's say that the engine space would be good, would you say, is it something that you as an applicant recommend and say, oh, and I have this, or no, you wait for Activate and tell you which space you should tap into? Or do you take a proactive approach and try to find your own, set up your own, what you do when you get there kind of application?
If you know that Boston is the community and where you want to place your company, at least for the next 2 years, especially with the fellowship, I would say go on ahead and start getting plugged in now for sure, because that will just be an additional benefit for your justification for why you're choosing that community. You're already, embedding yourself in it now, and you feel like it is a good place for your company to have success being in that ecosystem. Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Ready. I have one more question here from NG that says, do you provide space? I would like some additional context on there if you do have it. For lab space, I think that we touched on that. The only other space that I'm kind of thinking of is maybe if you relocate, do we assist you with finding housing there? I would say we do provide relocation stipends for the primary Activate fellow. However, we don't provide support or, housing resources, but I will say we definitely have some Activate fellows who have decided to kind of roommate together basically over the 2 years for the fellowship. Alternatively, there are some fellows who are probably already in the community. It's just a big support system where everyone kind of comes together, and any question that you ask, you're probably going to get a response from someone with whatever help that we can provide. We're a fellows first organization, and the fellows also take that. So if we don't have an answer, we usually know someone who does, but we usually have an answer and can at least help you or guide you in the right place. Working space. So that will go back to lab space. So again, if your working space does not look like a lab or a traditional lab in which you would conduct research, whatever that working space might look like for you, again, we would just still help support in maybe resources that we do have or with our ecosystem. Wherever we can support, we definitely provide that. But if we don't have a relationship or a partnership, it would be more so you trying to further that relationship on your own. But again, you could always come to us for support and guidance in finding and securing a working space. All righty. With that, I will close our Q&A. If anyone has a last minute question, I'm still going to be talking for just a couple more minutes to give you all a couple more resources before we end the call. But again, if you have any more questions, more than welcome to drop them in the chat. But I'm going to share my screen one more time to let you know how you all can stay engaged with us. So, if you are on our amplifier side, we could send you that additional information if you want to sign up to receive communications. But if you're on the applicant side and want to receive more communications about when applications open and our application cycle, you can sign up through activate.org/apply. That is also where you can direct others who might be a good fit for the fellowship to sign up for additional updates. For any questions, you can always email us at apply@activate.org and our team will get back to you. We will also be having more events through the summer. Again, you can sign up and RSVP through those at activate.org/events. And again, like this webinar, our other past webinars are also available at youtube.com/@activatefellows. We also have job opportunities. If you're interested in Activate or our fellow companies for technical roles, that link is there available for you. And for upcoming events, we do have, again, our fellow panel, Why Entrepreneurship, Why Now, coming up next week. And in August, we will have that Changing Lives, Changing Locations fellow panel as well, and a special discussion on reapplying for the Activate Fellowship. And then when applications open in September, we will be kicking it off with a general recruitment webinar to learn more about the Activate Fellowship. Additionally, I will mention that Joshua is dropping a poll for you all just to talk about your experience today. What did you like about the webinar? How did you hear about us? And some additional questions. It would be really, really helpful if you all could fill that out before you leave the call today, just to make sure we get those responses. And with that, I say thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today and for listening. And if you have any last questions, you can definitely either email us or drop them in the chat as you are finishing that poll. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.